All right, so we're gonna. Are you ready there, Chuck?
Ready.
Okay. So welcome everyone to the June New Mexico Drought Monitoring Work Group call, and as we do in the past, we'll just go around the rooms and whoever's on the call, just say who you are and where you work. And this is Dave Dubois at New Mexico State.
Raymond Abate, Bureau of Reclamation.
This is Greg Story at the West Belt Fire C in Fort Worth.
Hey Dave, this is Victor Murphy from Weather Service Southern Region Headquarters.
Les Owen, New Mexico Department of Ag.
Dave, it's John Longworth from OSC.
Susan Rich, New Mexico State Forestry.
Curtis McFadden, Army Corps of Engineers.
Dave Noblin, National Weather Service, El Paso.
Chuck Jones here at the National Weather Service office with Wayne Sleep, who's here today from the NRCS. He came over, and the Santa Fe crew is arriving, so he'll be here in a minute.
Okay, good timing. All right. Well, welcome everyone again, and so we've got a good agenda today, and so ready, Chuck? Get started with the National Weather Service report.
I sure am. Hopefully everyone can hear us. Hi.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. No problem. Okay, here we go. Lots to talk about. Let's just start with the good news. This is the HPC's estimated 7-day precipitation total, and you can see the eastern plains is in a very nice area from a ½ inch to over 2 inches near Clovis. Western parts of the state, at least getting some rain here over the next week, except maybe up around Farmington. But if this pans out, it would obviously be very good. And it does look like we're in a pattern change. It's actually starting today, and just in time for July. Looks like we'll start getting some decent rainfall starting tomorrow, but especially Wednesday and Thursday as well. This is the Albuquerque dew points through Saturday. Only going up a little bit today. Big jump tomorrow to near 50, and then 56 on Wednesday, and then drops down a little bit. But we can certainly see the forecasted increase in dew points, which is a measure of the amount of moisture in the air. Certainly jumps up significantly here during this week. And now the bad news. Victor, you'll be on here pretty soon. The precipitation for June is pretty bad. There's, no precipitation out in the northwest, west central, generally below normal in central areas, and above normal in parts of the east, and especially the northeast zone. Well, that's the only one that did pretty well in June. And it looks like, as Victor mentioned in an email earlier, we're just looking at maybe 40 or 45% for the month of June. And he threw this together this morning, showing by division the June precip so far, with just a day or two to go. And they're not doing very well at all, except CD3, which is that northeast plain. Climate division. They are about 125% of normal, but boy, everybody else below 40%, and most of them below 20%. So, unfortunately, another very poor month, and we're hoping the monsoon does get started this week. May precipitation ended up at 0.93 inches average, which was only a little bit below normal. This was by far our best month of the year at 89% of normal, and pretty much in the middle of the pack in terms of ranking. for the calendar year, 16th driest on record. We're about 2 inches below normal and just barely above 50% of normal precipitation for the state so far this year. Another slide here from Victor that I threw in showing the year to date. It's shown in a different way, and we can see here the percent of normals across the 8 climate divisions, and they're not doing very well at all. Again, that CD3, Northeast Plains, is doing okay, and CD7 is doing all right, but boy, everybody else pretty much below 50%. So, Victor, you want to talk now about making some changes in the next drought status for next week, or this week? Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. I don't know. I toss it out to you and to Dave, and I guess ultimately I'll defer. Need to defer to Dave and what the group thinks. But based on the inordinate dryness, at least in the northwest part of the state, CD1, and I guess the southwest part of the state, CD8. I was thinking about expanding the D3 or extreme drought categories in both those climate divisions for this week's drought monitor. And I guess we can just keep that in the back of our minds as we go through the call.
Yeah.
I know El Paso's only got 25. The only station I looked up was El Paso, which is, I guess, pretty similar, I guess, to the Las Cruces area and that lower portion of the Rio Grande down there. I know El Paso's had 25% of normal rainfall so far this year, which I think is like their 8th driest year on record thus far, something like that. So I would think we probably need to reflect this, year-to-date dryness and the shorter-term dryness. Probably need to downgrade CD1 and CD8 somewhat.
Yeah,
CD1 especially, Chuck. If you go year-to-date for the precip, I think CD8 rather. I'm sorry, CD8 is like 3rd driest year on record so far.
CD7.
This is southwest part, I think, of the state there.
Yeah.
Hello, Victor. I don't know if I'm...
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Dave Noble here in El Paso.
Hey, Dave.
And, you're right. In other words, looking at the radar estimates for June, we had 2 real big dry swaths from El Paso north into the Tularosa Basin and also that C8 area, the Hidalgo area. And, there's a spotty precip elsewhere. The only portion benefiting at all this year so far has been southern Hudspeth, but we are in bad shape. You're right. It's like 25% most of the area. And, there's been some recent stuff in the Sacramento, but very spotty, very isolated. So, yeah, those are real hard-hit areas that you mentioned.
Yeah, unless...
The 25% year-to-date normal at El Paso would pretty much reflect CD8 there. It looks like they've had, 0.68, about 21% normal. So it looks like that entire climate division number 8, including just across the board on the Texas side, has probably had about 20 to 25% of normal rainfall, or normal precip, rather. So I was thinking probably about expanding showing more D3 down there.
Right.
Yeah, this is Dave.
For Northwest State, CD1.
Yeah.
Once again, I defer to y'all's, the group and especially Dave Dubois' thoughts.
Yeah, I agree on that. Both 1 and 8. I just pulled up ACES, and Las Cruces were the sixth driest calendar year. So I'm just trying to look to see where do we want to, how far do we go up? I haven't looked at Hillsboro to see what they're doing. Have you looked at that, Dave, yet?
Dave, this is Wayne Sleep with NRCS. The southern mountains down there in the Gila, for the water year and the calendar year both, you're looking at about 25 to 35% of normal at all those sites. So it's definitely down Grant and southern Catron County where we've got sites at least. It kind of is following the same pattern even at high elevation.
So maybe even connecting that D3 all far west with the southwestern one. as a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. That's what I would suggest.
They're spotty.
And then how far in the San Juan County? I need to pull up some of the like the Ag Science Center. But yeah, let's look at this in a little more maybe after the call, like how far, and do we want to put it into a little bit of Sierra County? I agree, going all the way up through Grant and most of Luna, and probably maybe expanding the one through Katrin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, great.
So what about the D4 in far northeast with climate division 3?
I would drop it.
Drop that one, yeah. I agree.
Little piece up here.
Yeah, I'd agree too, David.
All right.
We're probably going to get some pretty good rains this week too, so.
Yeah. All right. So let's look a little more at the impacts. Why don't you go ahead, Chuck?
Okay. So if we expand this to the water year, October through May, of course, we're missing out on that September rain, and so it's dry as well. It's also the 16th driest on record, over 2.5 inches below normal, which computes to 58% of normal statewide precipitation. So it's really no good news in terms of the current drought situation. But we do have some hope in one, the monsoon, and two, the El Nino, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So here's the 12 month going back to June of last year through May of this year. Suddenly we're above normal. How did that happen? Well, of course, it's because of July and September, which combined for 55% of the past 12 months precipitation. So without that, we'd be way under. 24 months, no better, well, worse, ninth driest. So we're getting that September rainfall getting dampened out. 6 inches below normal. 36 months, similar story, 6th driest on record, over 9 inches below normal. And if you go to 4 years and 5 years, it's the same, basically, 5th driest and 7th driest. So really, we're in the top 10, unfortunately, from 2 years up for New Mexico's precipitation ranking. So again, here's then is our current drought status. Pretty bleak, 96% of the state in some form of drought, 84% severe to exceptional, and 30% almost extreme to exceptional drought. How have things changed in the last 3 months? Overall, a little worse, especially over the west here. You can see quite a bit of deterioration by one category. But actually some improvement, and then worse up here in the far northeast, but some improvement over the east central into the southeast part of the state. And we witnessed that from the CD3 division and CD8 divisions where they've been doing the best here and so far this year and during the water year. Let's take a look out in the extended here. Got a little loop here of the weekly sea surface temperatures and their anomalies over the past 3 months. And we're looking at Nino 3.4 region right here in the central equatorial Pacific. Just kind of right in here. And you can see the top temperatures are warming, and as a result, the departure from normals are also increasing. and especially to the western Pacific and eastern Pacific, we're getting temperatures a degree or more above normal. So things are looking up for El Nino. Still, the forecasters and the models are all supporting this El Nino conditions developing now during the summer, and we're up to about a 70% chance of it developing this summer and 80% by the fall. But again, of course, I think we're already at that half degree or higher mark. So we have El Nino conditions, but to be a full episode, we got a ways to go. We have to have 5 consecutive 3-month periods where the average temperature is a half degree or more above normal in that Nino 3.4 region. So CPC's outlook for July. Somewhat encouraging. The northwest half of the state and the Four Corners region especially leaning towards above normal precipitation for the month of July. While no trend at all for the temperatures, it could be above, near, or below normal, equal chances of all three. We extend this out a little bit and go through the rest of the summer. Even better, looks like we're leaning pretty heavily now toward above normal precipitation for the monsoon. And that would especially be the case again over northwest New Mexico and the Four Corners region. And again, temperatures, no clear trend there with equal chances. All right, let's keep going. Since it looks so good, we'll go to the winter. 3-month official period, December, January, and February. And as is very typical with an El Nino pattern, overall trend toward above normal, and especially the southern half of New Mexico looks the most favorable for having above normal precipitation. And if we go out to spring, March, April, and May, it just shows equal chances. And we say, well, hey, what happened? But it's worth noting that for every 3-month period from July, August, September through the previous 3-month period, which would be February, March, and April, all show New Mexico trending toward above normal. And this is actually the first 3-month period where it was just that they have it as equal chances, no strong signal. So really overall, things are looking up as we head through the fall, summer, fall, and winter. And just to point that out again, seasonal outlook, improving both places and perhaps disappearing up here between Albuquerque near Santa Fe and parts of the southeast. Before we get too giddy talking about El Nino and the possibility of a lot of precipitation this winter, especially if it's a strong one, if we do look back briefly at the 97-98 strong El Nino event, this 7-month period, 7 or 8 month period here shows a snowfall for several places across northern and central New Mexico, and other than Taos Ski Valley, places are pretty close to normal. So, there's no guarantee that there's going to be massive amounts of snow over northern New Mexico this winter. You'll see on this next slide what ended up, at least for this December through February, the winter period. It wasn't that far above normal across western and into central areas, but the east did do very well. So, we'll have to wait and see, but certainly this is the most encouraging news we've had in 3 or 4 years. So, with that, I better stop.
Very good. Thanks, Chuck. Any questions for Chuck?
Yeah, Chuck, how's it look for this week? I mean, they're talking good moisture, right?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, that early slide here that I showed from HPC, pretty encouraging, having a half to 2 inches of rain over most of eastern New Mexico. So that would be nice. It still looks like a pretty potent cold front comes down tomorrow night down the eastern plains. It will push into here by Tuesday morning, and east winds in Albuquerque will be blowing all day tomorrow and probably tomorrow night. So we're going to get a decent amount of moisture to punch into here, as indicated by the GFS model solution, taking dew points up into the 50s, near 50 tomorrow, mid 50s on Wednesday. So that's encouraging. Precip looks like it's on tap, and the question is, this is kind of a backdoor front, so we could call this the reverse monsoon. But there's also signs on the models that we can get some impact from a direct impact from Mexico, at least into southwest, west central New Mexico during the course of the week. So that could actually help amplify the precipitation potential over much of western New Mexico. So it could end up being a pretty decent week.
Wow, that's good. Very good.
Tune in to the weekly weather briefing this afternoon and get more details from Kerry.
All righty.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Raymond with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation report. You ready, Raymond?
Sure. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'll start in the Rio Grande. Total reservoir storage is 22,594. Heron 105,348. Salado 61,890. Abiquiu 119,752. Cochiti 47,494. Let's see, Elephant Butte 229,447. And Caballo 30,493. On the Pecos, Santa Rosa Reservoir is 51,876. Sumner 26,317. And Brantley is 23,754. So far we're doing good in both basins. In the Rio Grande district is irrigating well with just starting to use their storage water starting last week. Otherwise, the native pretty much kept it going this whole time. So we're ramping down now. We can start to decrease the flows for the minnows and then just keep it wet further north. And we're done keeping it wet down below Santa Casia. Elephant Butte and Caballo, as you can see, are still irrigating. They're still releasing for irrigation down south. Right now in the Pecos, irrigation has been going really well for both districts. And we're right now in the middle of the CID's second block release for this season. So they're releasing from Santa Rosa and Sumner. They're looking to release about 29,000 acre feet, about 25,000 from Santa Rosa and about 4,000 from Sumner to Brantley. So that's where we're at. So the river is nice and full and connected. It's flush with water right now. So, and hopefully these rains will help. That'll help any way we can, as far as definitely the Rio Grande for irrigation right now. Like I said, we got the block going, but if that puts water into Santa Rosa and Sumner, that would be great. So, anyways, that's all I had. Unless anyone has questions.
All right, thanks, Raymond.
Thank you.
All right, I don't hear any questions. We have Wayne right in the Weather Service office.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. If you want to go ahead and give your report.
Yeah, I didn't send out a report this week. If any of you check them online, you probably notice that there's a lot of sites with either missing data or the -999 errors. What's going on, we've been doing summer maintenance for the last few weeks. So those sites where we've recharged precip cans and maybe blood transducers on pillows and stuff, all of those have to be re-zeroed now, and that has to be done manually. So with everybody in the field, that's been kind of a slow process. Even most of the Colorado folks at the data collection office are out. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll get all those zeros reset, and then the reports won't have all the errors in them. But wouldn't have done me a lot of good to send something out that had all that missing data. Basically, the month of June was pretty dry at the high elevation. Southern basins were somewhere in the 10 to 25% of normal. The northern basins were somewhere in the 20 to 40% for the most part. Right up in the north central area, it looked like there was a little blip of about 60% of normal precip for the month of June. Water year to date, the southern, about 2/3 of the state are somewhere in the 20 to 40 to 45% of normal, and that's since October 1st. The northern mountains are doing a little better. They're kind of in the 50 to 80%, just depending on which little subset of sites that you pick. So, and just like the pattern has been the last couple of years, if you jump right across the state line into Colorado, you're looking at more of the 80 to 100% of normal, and even better as you go north. So, hopefully we see that pattern kind of reverse with this potential El Nino setting up. So, that's kind of the hope. This year, measuring snow, I never even got snowmobiles out. I ran them on ATVs all winter. So it's I'm hoping we have to use snowmobiles. So anyway, that's why I didn't send out a report, and that's kind of the brief on what's been going on.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks, Wayne. Any questions for Wayne?
I got an email from Anne Marie. She wasn't able to be here today on the call and wasn't able to put the USGS report together. So
okay.
Nothing from her this month.
Alrighty. All right, so let's move on to the Office of State Engineer. I think John is on.
Yeah.
John is on, but I'm going to be doing the report since I'm here. This is Julie, by the way, sorry.
Hi, Julie.
I walked in a little bit late.
No problem.
So we just I want to point out where we got some of our data, because we're getting it from a couple different sources. So for Ute Reservoir, we're getting the current data from the USGS website. And then we're getting NRCS, we're using Ute from the past year. And for Sumner and Brantley, we're also using the average for last year. And for everyone else, we are using the USACE. So we changed the presentation slightly, and I want to just, see how everybody feels. What I landed up doing is I'm putting in May to compare the previous month to this month so that we could see the differences in some of the reservoirs. So some of the ones that I want to point out, and I'll go through each slide, but I won't go over the numbers since Raymond just did. But I wanted to point out that Navajo, there was approximately 70 acre-feet difference. And then you can see there's not much change, but it's near the average for June, so that one's looking pretty good. Santa Rosa is well over the average for June, as well as Sumner. So some of these are looking pretty good in comparison. And Heron is down a little bit, but not much from last month. Just a little bit, like maybe a couple acre feet. Alvaro, you can see the differences. This one's doing better now in June than it was in May. And Abiquiu is a little, not much difference in Abiquiu. And Elephant Butte is probably the one that's down the most, like 115. And that's all we have. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'll pass it back.
Well, thanks, Julie. I like the monthly comparisons. It gives a context from, from each of our calls to see how things change. It's always a good idea.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I think I'll continue doing that unless anyone thinks that it's not worthwhile. Okay.
Very good. Any questions for Julie or John? Alrighty. Alright, so I think we'll move on to the New Mexico Department of Agriculture with, I think Les is on the call.
Yeah, I'm here, and I didn't really have a report to send. The areas of the state that have been getting some rain, they're seeing some improvements in pasture conditions. Cattle inventories are still way down, and it certainly hasn't. The drought hasn't broken enough to make folks want to pay the high prices of cattle to start building that back up. People are cutting hay all around the state where they've got irrigation water. It's real tight, especially in the EBID is probably the worst off for surface water supplies. A few fires burning around the state. Nothing, of course, the largest one up in McKinley County. Beyond that, I really don't have much to offer. Be happy to answer any questions anybody has, though.
All right, any
Okay,
questions?
thank you.
Okay, thanks, Les. Much appreciated. Just as a side note, Les, I'll probably call you later, but I was down at the Ascension and Janos County with the meeting with the cattle ranchers, and trying to get some conversation going with data, not only just cattle number data, but with having them measure precip in that area. But there's a lot of good discussion, and they're willing to provide data and things like that. So, are you interested?
Excellent. Sure. I was in Weed over the weekend doing a monitoring workshop, and we discussed the Coco Ross and some different
okay, great
precip monitoring things. So
wonderful. Yeah, they're trying to do some. There was one group that were doing some revegetation, and there was one group. There was one guy who did about 12 years of it, and it really the grassland really came back, and it was sort of comparing this one maybe 100 sections versus other 100 sections, and it was like nothing on one, and then there was grass in this other area. So they're trying to do some real meaningful impacts in that in Chihuahua, and maybe it'll start reflecting in the cattle numbers, but it's really, I was out there all weekend. It was really dry, and
yeah, and what any areas where they've had some precip, the heat and wind has pretty much sucked all the moisture out of the ground, anyways.
Yeah, you can say that again, and it's just. Things look pretty poor just south of the border. So I'll give you a call later.
Okay.
All right. So I got an email from Emelita saying she has to go to another meeting. So her and Joy Lynn are not available, and they don't have any new information. So I told her to go ahead and forward anything that they may get to us. In the meantime, so no problem there. Okay, so is there any more discussion on what we want to do for the drought monitor designations? I think we've got the recommendations from Victor, and we discussed some of those. But any other discussion before we leave it?
Hey, Dave, this is Wendy Blackwell with Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Hi, Wendy.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
I haven't been on here for a while, but here I am now.
Well, welcome back.
Why, thank you. So one thing I just wanted to mention from our perspective, in the next week or so, we're expecting FEMA Region 6 to produce, they've been working with NOAA and Weather Service, and they're coming up with a flood predictability model. It's really just for planning purposes. Basically what they've done is taken like the USGS burn scar debris flow reports, combined it with some flood mapping and also predictions on upcoming weather, and are going to be presenting, which basins we can expect to see additional flows and try to help with some preparation work for monsoon season. So I'll send an email to, I guess, John, so that they can get that out to the Drought Task Force and also to the Monitoring Working Group in a way of trying to spread it more quickly to the communities. We'll be sending it to the local emergency managers, but this way, hopefully, we can reach the agencies too. So,
great.
Hopefully, it will be a useful planning tool.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, Wendy, that's Region 6, Rio Hondo. Is that what you're?
Well, it's a statewide.
Oh, okay.
This is kind of separate from the Rio Hondo watershed project. This is more of them assisting the state in trying to look at predicting where we may be wanting to focus preparedness activities.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Okay. Any more discussions? All right, so I think after the call, we'll put together a recommendation and send it off to the author. And I'm assuming I didn't see Victor's. He just sent it to the folks on this call, but we can put together the response. Make sure they get it. So I think that let's move on to the next agenda item for the next call. So for month of July, CPC updates on the 17th, and I've had requests to have these calls early in the week, either a Monday or at the latest Tuesday. And so that would bring it to the 21st if you want to use the CPC updates. So for the question for the Weather Service is, will you be available on the Monday 21st or 22nd?
Absolutely. That's the best possible day for me. So.
Okay.
And Dave, I wanted to see if we could actually have them on Tuesdays, because that would work better for us.
Okay.
But let's see how it works for everyone else.
So the we're looking at the July 22nd. That's a Tuesday at 10 a.m. Anybody have major problems with that one? So is that okay with you, Chuck?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I leave for vacation on the 23rd. So.
Okay, so that works out.
So the 22nd at 10?
Yeah, so the next call will be July 22nd, 10 a.m. Mountain Time.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being on the call. And
hey, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, this is Victor. I'll go ahead and send us, proposal up to the, drought monitor author, and I'll make sure to CC you and
Okay.
Chuck and others.
Sounds great.
See what the negotiation, well, see what the give and take process is.
Right. Thanks, Victor.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, much appreciated.
Sure.
See you guys later. Bye.